in July, and I think the President is going to speak. He clearly wants to make it plain what he's going to do by talking to His Majesty.
Your Majesties. Your Majesties, Mr. Prime Minister, Ministers, veterans of the D-Day landings, Mrs. Christian Lamb, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Your Majesty, for your word and your presence. I think it means a lot for all your veterans today and for us. And the way you express yourself, your history, our history, even for our civilians. But I would say the presence of both of you here today means a lot for everybody in France. Around this memorial, standing upright on the soil of Normandy, these 1475 silhouettes represent each British soldier who fell whilst making a heroic sacrifice on D-Day. The 1475 silhouettes from history are your brothers in arms, and I know that today you remember, and they are with us. And let me say that nobody here in France, in Normandy, can forget their sacrifice and your sacrifice, and your presence today with us is such an important day. You are already honored by the French Republic, but we wanted to have just a special moment for you, Mrs. Lamb. You were one of those heroes in the shadows, I would say. A Wren, as the female Royal Navy officers were known in their blue and white uniforms. Before you, your father fought bravely in the First World War. Your family loved France, and at the age of 18, you left school and came to live with the family here to learn our language. But just after a few months, in 1939, you received a telegram from your father telling you that the war was imminent and to return to London immediately. Shortly after that, you began working as a clerk for the Royal Navy and then became an official plotting officer, responsible for locating your ships based on data sent from your radar stations. This led to one of the most dramatic moments of your life, when you had to plot the ship of your own fiancé, a lieutenant commander on a Royal Navy destroyer engaged in a battle with some 40 German U-boats. The story ended well, and the British destroyer rammed and sunk a U-boat, and you were able to marry your fiancé at the end of 1943. But in fact, the story was just beginning. In 1944, you were assigned to help plan the D-Day's landings from Winston Churchill's secret war rooms in London. When all of Europe was speculating about the location of the landings, when Nazi Germany did not know where to send its defenses, you knew the exact location as it was pinpointed on a large-scale map of the Normandy coast on the wall of your small below-stairs office. Your brief was to delineate each landing position visible from the bridge of an approaching landing craft so that the troops could get their bearings. It required precision planning, and it was intense and exciting work. As you said, you were just one piece of the jigsaw, but the success of the entire operation hinged on the jigsaw. And the stillness of your office was the first step leading to the din of the battlefield. And when you heard the official radio announcement of the landings on 6th June, you were, in your own way, among those figures in the shadows of D-Day. You were not there in person, dear Christian Lam, but you guided each step they took. After that, life resumed. You left the Navy, but you have never forgotten those intense heroic hours. 50 years later, you recounted them publicly to honor the memory of all those who experienced those bitter yet glorious hours with you. You have set us an example which we'll not forget. France will never forget the British troops who landed on D-Day and all their brothers in arms. That faith in freedom which you have never lost, that constant selflessness and devotion both guide us and serve as a duty to us. We are honored by the ties of remembrance, friendship, and loyalty which you have forged between our two countries. And let me thank all of you for this bravery. Et c'est pourquoi aujourd'hui, j'ai l'honneur, au nom de la République française, Madame, de vous remettre les insignes de chevalier de la Légion d'honneur. Chevalier de la Légion d'honneur.
A flower given from the heart, a medal given by the head of state. Christian said to me, I don't know if anyone used my maps. And I think we can safely say today, Christian, has come your answer. Yes, they did. And a thank you from the people of France. James, something quite informal about this, compared with what we've seen, the majesty and the pomp and splendour at the memorial. There's something very informal somehow about this.
Yes, and it felt incredibly heartfelt, didn't it? From the depths of his heart, and he's a very proud man, and very proud of France's history, and has always been proud of Europe's ties, I think. And there it was, laid clear. But what a remarkable lady she is. Absolutely a picture of elegance, of stoicism, implacability, all those fantastic characteristics, which of course are we associate with that wartime generation.
We do,
don't we?
we do. And the Americans, I think, used the phrase the greatest generation. But of course, the story that the President told takes us right to the heart of her young life, when she plotted the action in which her fiancé was involved, not knowing if he would survive. And that was part of the work before she got to the D-Day map room. She told me she saw Winston Churchill on several occasions. He came to supervise the work. She's a witness to history, and today she's been told by the French president that she is a part of this history.
She's absolutely remarkable, isn't she? There was definitely she looks moved now, but a deep stoicism and phlegmatism, I think, in that generation, wasn't there? That helped them get through some of those darkest hours.
The Wrens are part of the Royal Navy, and as we heard from a Royal Navy veteran earlier, wanting to make sure to pay tribute to the other members of the armed forces, John Derrick, who we heard from earlier, said the bravery of people who stepped onto the beach from the craft that we were working on members of the Royal Navy, and we saw the tribute to the Royal Air Force, whose work bringing men by glider and in the bombardments paved the way for the Allied invasion of France, the Normandy landings. Together now, the heads of state and the Queen and the First Lady are stepping west along parallel with the beach to reach a small square memorial that James was telling us about earlier to the French civilians.